So let's try that again with the microphone actually turned on. That would help. So yeah, wow, I was forgetting my hotkeys there. Yeah, I've got all these hotkeys set up for OBS, and then I need to actually hit them in the right order, and that's what I failed to do there. So yes. Anyway, so now that I know you can actually hear me, welcome back to KSP, and we're going to continue on where we left off from last time with landing on Gratton, because we pulled into orbit, and it all went more or less okay. I mean, it was, you know, mostly fine. It wasn't exactly an optimal mission, but the actual ship itself is so over-designed. It has so much Delta V that even having gotten thus far and having expended like 60%, we've still got like just under 3,000 meters a second Delta V, and it will actually go over that once we ditch the lander, of course, because we're not going to drag that all the way back to Gale with us. So yeah, we know the lander can land. That's not the issue. That's fine. It's the getting off the surface part that might be a bit tricky. Although, having said, you know, it'll be fine. I might completely screw it up, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide on our crew. So I'm thinking Valentina, because we want a pilot, and then obviously we want one of the scientists. And the question is, which of the scientists? I guess we might make it Bob. Also, hopefully the sound levels aren't too quiet. I might actually turn that up a bit. Alright, let's hope that is okay. I was experimenting with OBS a bit, and I was hoping that, like Bandicam, it would be able to put things into different audio tracks, but I'm not sure that it can. It might be it's possible, and I've just missed how to do it, but it mixes everything into one audio track, so making sure that the sound levels are correct is fairly important when I'm doing the local recording. So yeah, what we need to do then is transfer our crew. So get Valentina into the command pod. I was actually reading a little about that that command pod. Well, not reading, I was watching something about it recently. That's one of the ones from Vens, and it's actually a Soviet command pod for a thing that was never actually used. Right. Transfer crew. Bob Kerman. Okay, so we'll drop a save here, but I think, you know, if it goes horribly wrong on the landing, we'll say this is all just happening, because I've tested this enough that if anything gets completely mucked up, it's going to be my fault. So, right, let's make sure we have solar panels and everything extended. There we go, prior to actually undocking. So this is just going to sit up here on its own. This has got to basically land and then get back all within 3 days. We have 3 days of life support, and that should be fine. But oh, that's actually only saying 1 day. Why is it only saying? Oh, you know why? Because it's actually been pulling. Okay, so right, it's fine, but oh, we need to maybe redock. What's the control for going forwards again? Come on, redock. Now, okay, I think we're just going to load the save because it doesn't quite want to redock, which is a bit ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't think to check that. Of course, we've got to make sure that the it should be 3 days, but I didn't lock off those resources in that command pod, so we actually have to fiddle around with this first. So that's a little bit annoying, but there you are. So, yeah, we have to make sure these are all topped up. And that doesn't have any life support. Right, so food in, water in, oxygen in, and then we want to put the waste out, basically. Yeah, that was just a slight oversight on my part, and I did try and redock it, but it wouldn't for some reason. So yeah, we need to make sure that waste tank is emptied as well. So we've got all 3 days worth of where's the waste? It's all life support, water purifier. Oh, there we go, it's that hex can, isn't it? No, that's a life support hex can. Where's the waste hex can? Oh, for goodness sake. Right, we need to... Oh, let's just use the where are we looking? Fuel balancer. There we go. Attack fuel balancer. Waste. I've buried the hex cans somewhere. Oh, we're actually almost full on the okay, we're going to have to dump those overboard anyway. So we'll just use the dump command on all 3. They were almost all full anyway. Yeah, wastewater and of course the carbon dioxide we can actually process, but okay, right, let's drop another save so we're not doing the same, making the same mistake again. So KSP, what you doing? KSP. Okay, I don't know why that's not responding. That's a bit odd. KSP, why won't you let me? Yeah, okay, that's a bit weird. It's not actually. What? Okay, let's just quickly go back to the space center and then go back to that, and hopefully that will fix it. So how's everybody doing? This is rather earlier than I usually stream, but I will be going elsewhere later on, so this is the time I've got for doing it. And of course now I can record the VODs in glorious 1080. It's not necessarily... I mean, you say that, Sleaze. It's not necessarily poo. It could just be like crumbs from their snacks. It doesn't have to be poo. Right. Okay. Decouple node. Now we've got full 3 days of everything. Oh, and I hadn't actually hit the thing that time. But anyway, so let's have a small puff of the RCS to actually push us away. But we're going to want to save the RCS for redocking when we come back up. So that's not something we want to be particularly wasting. Right, I guess we'll just make sure that point's retrograde for now. So this is just going to float up here serenely and wait around for them to come back. Also, undocking that's actually even more delta V. That was worth about 700 meters a second delta V undocking that thing. So, you know, we're not going to be lugging that back with us. This will probably just get left up here, or I'll maybe even just deorbit it back to Gratton. So, we've got a nice strong signal. In fact, we've got enough of a connection that this thing can directly connect back to KSP and not have to relay through this. Although, having said that, does this actually have a relay dish? This might not actually have a relay dish. That might be another thing that I left off. I could swear I put a relay dish on. Maybe? Wait, that's a relay dish, isn't it? Or is that just a regular antenna? That might just be a regular antenna. I think I thought that was a relay. And it's not. Anyway, so we're not relaying through that. Apparently we're only able to directly connect. But it doesn't matter because we've got full crew control. So, yes, the idea is that we will pick somewhere nice and flat to land. So, we're at a slight inclination. What is this? If I can find it. I think we're actually orbiting, like, the wrong way, as it were. Yeah, we're orbiting around this way, so when I take off, I'm going to have to remember that. It's the taking off part that's going to take many goes. I can tell you that right now. We're actually going to be launching against the spin of the planet, which is less efficient, but this is how we did our orbital capture, and it would be incredibly wasteful to flip around. So this is what we're going with. So, what? No. What? Okay, for some reason, instead of arming the engines, that has armed the parachutes? I don't know. I might have to just right-click and manually arm the engines. Yeah, that should have staged the engines, and it didn't. That's weird. KSP, why did you do that? That's the second time you've done a thing that's weird today. Right. So apparently we're just going to have to manually turn on the engines. Oh, for goodness sake, no, did it really? It pulled all the liquid fuel from those as well. Okay. Alright. Okay, fine. We're doing this again, apparently. First time I've done this, I didn't think it would pull through the... I thought I'd set it so it wouldn't pull through the docking ports. But apparently, yeah. No, wait. No, the crossfeed isn't enabled. What? Yeah, I did disable the crossfeed through the docking port. So how the hell did it pull the fuel through? How is it using the liquid fuel if the crossfeed is disabled? Kerbal Space Program, why you do this? Why? Why? I don't... Oh, for goodness sake. Right. So now we have to do 50 bazillion fuel tanks worth of everything as well. So that's going to be not at all annoying. Because this is all, like, separate fuel tanks. Yeah, I don't know why the hell KSP did that. That was actually a bit weird, to be honest. I specifically set it so it wouldn't do that. I mean, I didn't actually lock these tanks, which would have ensured it 100% wouldn't happen. But it shouldn't have happened because it's not supposed to be able to pull fuel through the docking ports. And yet somehow magically it did anyway. I don't understand. So that's a thing that happened that shouldn't have happened. Right, so basically we have to just pump liquid fuel back through. Hey Chaser, yeah, it's... I mean, you know, it's fairly horrible, but naturally our amazing Prime Minister has jumped on the chance to show herself once again to be a massive hypocrite, so that's been fun. And then the US media has been just like doing what the US media does, and so Twitter's been taking the piss out of that all morning, which has actually been somewhat amusing. But yeah, the whole thing is fairly horrible. I mean, it's just... It is what it is, really. But London will survive, because, you know, it's going to take more than that. Wow, this is taking a while. I wonder if I'm better off using... Yeah, I'm probably better off using TAC Fuel Balancer. which will do it a lot quicker, but the interface is a bit more confusing when you're trying to juggle lots of little tanks. So, liquid fuel. So these are all KW rocketry. Right, so what's the easiest way? I don't know if there is an easiest way. I guess if I just hit transfer in on each of these, and it'll pull it out of the main body of the spacecraft, and then I can right click to actually check. Because the oxidizer even is fine. Oh god, Theresa May's just like, oh, we're going to suspend campaigning and we're not going to play politics with this horrible tragedy, and then immediately that's exactly what she does. And I'm literally having to restrain myself from using rather worse language than that. I mean, you know, as if she hadn't already proved herself to be a horrible leader for the country. But that's all, you know, that's not why we're here. So let's not talk about that, because I don't want to start, you know. We're here for Kerbal Space Program. Not so I can say what a horrible dystopian government that Theresa May would like to lead. Because apparently she thought 1984 was an instruction manual. Right, we're saving again. And we're all tanked up. Despite KSP doing its best to... I don't even... That was weird. I specifically set it not to do that, and it did it anyway. Oh, KSP. Right. Oh yes, Tacker hens. I mean, that's, you know, that's the latest thing, that internet encryption bad. Because only terrorists and criminals would want to use internet encryption, right? Yeah. Actually, let's have the sound volume down just a tad. The PvE in War Thunder is, it's alright, Chaser. It's a bit basic. I think the air mode, or the Air Force's kind of variant, if you like, is it's a lot easier to beat the ground forces thing, I think. Although having said that, in the video we actually came very, very close to beating the Air Forces one. But I don't know, you know, that's just my impression. It seems okay. It seems more like it's a kind of a live test of the idea rather than an actual fully functioning thing, which is sort of what they've billed it as. Right, so pointed retrograde, what we're going to do is we're going to burn a little bit. The idea is we use very little delta V for the actual landing, which is why we've got so many parachutes on this thing. Gratton doesn't have a particularly thick atmosphere. It is meant to be like Duna in that regard. So we're not going to bleed off that much speed during the actual descent through the atmosphere. And that means that we'll need a little bit prior to landing as well, but the idea is that we've got more than enough to actually then take off again afterwards. Also, I mean, the Delta V figure is actually slightly higher than that, but for some reason the staging that I've got is slightly confusing MechJeb. In terms of its Delta V calculations. So this entire lander has actually got about 4,200 meters a second. So, oh, we also got a world first for getting into a suborbital space flight. So even though we're not actually fulfilling any contracts, we're still going to make a little bit of cash back. Right, so we do want the landing guidance panel for MechJeb up. Yeah, the rewards, like considering it's a fixed 25-minute thing to beat it. Honestly, 20 minutes would have felt challenging enough. 25 minutes feels like it's dragging on a bit. That's one thing I didn't actually think to say in the video. And the main reward does seem to be like if you beat it, you get a booster for 300%, which is far better than the actual, you know, rewards that you get from the thing itself. Anyway. So, it's 50 kilometers is the top of the atmosphere, so we'll just accelerate to that point. And then obviously we're going to want to pull in everything. So, the advantage of landing on Gratton with this thin atmosphere is that it is like coming in from this height as well. The reason why we burned into this relatively low orbit is something. The need for a heat shield is definitely minimized. Right. Do we actually? I'm going to very, very quickly have Valentina get out, have an EVA report before we do anything else. Did I put a container on this? I can't remember. Yes, I did. Now, of course, if this all goes horribly wrong, this is the thing that's holding all the science. Actually, I should have taken the science out and put it in a command capsule. So now I really need to get this thing back to the ship, because this is, apart from the science data in the lab, we've got 800 science data in the lab, which is, you know, that's a pretty big return in its own right. But then all the actual experiments that we've collected, they're all sitting in this thing. There's another thing I didn't think of from doing it last time. So yeah, so I could do various like mystery goo observation and actually, yeah, we could as well, because I've got a scientist on board. Bob can actually reset these things when we get down on the ground. Although, wait, did I not? Okay, that's weird. We can do like log temperature and pressure data and everything, but it's not actually showing up in the Science Here and Now panel. That's a bit weird. So, this is all upper atmosphere stuff, and we're going to need Bob to reset that once we get down on the ground, basically. So, this should put us down on a relatively flat bit of ground. Hopefully I've done this correctly. We're going to deploy the parachutes as soon as we're able, essentially, but I've also got the MechJeb landing thing up, because we're going to pop that right at the end, just so it uses the rockets to slow us down to the point where we need to be. So yeah, if you missed any of the testing I did on this thing, it's a two-stage takeoff vehicle. So we've actually got 3 engines, and it's got a pretty nice TWR for getting off the surface of Gratton. And once we get to a certain altitude, you know, and this obviously gets exhausted, we ditch that, and then it's the upper part that makes its way back to the mothership. Do I have a biomap? I do not, actually. I don't know if there is a biomap for planets on this one. Gratton in Galileo's planet pack. I temporarily forgot the name there. Okay, I went to look in the interior view and it's a bit... Yeah, the IVA for that pod's a little bit wonky. In fact, what? Why is Bob Kerman sitting with his head sticking out? I don't know. Yeah. Doesn't really have a proper IVA, that. I think it's been bodged together from existing IVAs in the game. Okay, there we go. Valentina at least kind of looks like she's looking out of a window, but also for some reason Bob's got his head sticking out. It's fine. It's probably fine. Yeah. Right, where are we coming down? Oh, we're actually maybe going into the rougher ground. I think I miscalculated how much drag we'd be getting. Oh, why are we starting to spin? Why are we starting to spin? I don't... I don't... Well, I mean, it shouldn't matter, but this didn't happen any of the other times that we've landed this thing. I don't know why this is happening. Are we out of electrical power? No? Still got loads of charge. The batteries are still nearly full. So, this is a bit strange. This is more than a bit strange. Can we do a crew report? Yes. I don't know why Science Here and Now is only showing about, you know, half the experiments that we have on board, but anyway. We'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, that's not actually letting me, how odd. Well, actually, no, we'll keep that open because that shows me at least the biome. Anyway, 17,000 kilometers. I mean, this is not enough re-entry heat to actually be a problem. It's just, I don't know why we're rolling like this. This is very odd. No, SAS is on. It's MechJeb that's handling SAS at the moment, rather than the Craft SAS. But it's the drag for some reason is pulling us around. Is it F11? No, that's thermal. There's F12. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but we'll be able to pop the parachutes fairly soon. Okay, we're now in Gratton's lower atmosphere. Over the plains of infinite paprika. Okay, we are actually over we're less than 10 kilometers. We need to pop the parachutes really quite soon. We need to start seriously getting some speed off. I don't know why these are all greyed out. Some of them we need to reset the experiments, of course, but yeah, this craft is really not behaving like it's ever behaved before. 5 kilometers above the ground. Second set of chutes out. Extend the landing legs. And then, I think when we're about a kilometer up, I will... Okay, there we go. The chutes are deploying. We don't want to waste any delta V, basically. So once we're about a kilometer above the ground, that's when I'll toggle MechJeb on, once all the parachutes are deployed and we've slowed down. Because there's no point wasting delta V. So that's a kilometre. And... okay, a little braking burst. Actually, we've got even more delta V than... even having burned off a little, we've still got like 4,300 meters a second delta V. So we'd be bumping down at about 11 meters a second, which is slightly too high for these landing legs. So we need to get to just basically above the ground, and then I'll toggle the landing guidance back on. I mean, it could be that chaser. It's just we did extensive testing with this. You know, we tested this and it was fine. Is there enough time to very quickly grab another EVA report? Yes. So I don't know why that did that when it has never done that before in any of the testing simulations that we did. It's a bit of a mystery. 140, 130, 120. So we'll have just a little burst before we land. 60, 50, 40. We'll come down at a nice gentle 3 meters a second. 20. 10. We're on a slope, but it shouldn't matter too much. And bam, we're down. So there we are. We've made it to Gratton. Ta-da! So let's unfurl the everything, all the communications panels and such like. Right, so collect data. So I don't know why the Science Here and Now mod is acting a bit strange, but it is. So there we are! We are down on Gratton! We have made it. I didn't take any screenshots on the way down, but oh well, never mind. I could have done. Let's take one now. So, we'll get them both out to have a little EVA on the surface. And they can put their footprints in the paprika. Because that's apparently what Gratton is made of. It's all various spices, cinnamon and paprika and whatever. So let's stick on, stick down a flag. Plant flag, there we go. I can click the right button, honest. We claim this territory in the name of Finland? Oh yeah, it's a Finnish flag. There we go. I don't know how legible that will be on stream, but yes. Take surface sample, and we'll let Bob have a little EVA as well, but also, of course, he needs to reset various experiments. Let's see. So they're both going to get ribbons that nobody else has. I didn't place the flag very well, but we'll try and get a nice screenshot. I should have had it more so it's facing the back of the thing. Because I can't really get the craft in focus and then have the flag as well. It's slightly awkward. I've made everything very slightly awkward because of course I have. I'm good at awkward, I am. Right. It's the best. Oh. Focus on the flag itself, maybe. Yeah, that's a super awkward angle. It's not a very nicely framed shot, but never mind. I'll have to do. So, we can get Valentina back on board, run our experiments, and then we're going to have to re-rendezvous. What we'll do, I mean, we'll launch into a higher orbit, and then we'll re-rendezvous with the mothership. This is the part where we're definitely going to drop another save, because I've got to take off in the right orientation, essentially. Heading in the right direction. Yeah, I got the surface sample slice. So back up the ladder we go. We've got to run our science experiments, and then we'll do a final cleaning and reset. I don't know why those are greyed out. That's super weird. Right, so an atmosphere analysis. Observe mystery goo. So some of these buttons it'll just let me click here, and then the others are greyed out, even though we can run the experiments. Oh, why didn't it? Oh, is it because it didn't pull the data from the first time? I don't know. Why can't why can't Bob store the... I don't... Bob, why aren't you storing the data? There we go, store experiments. So that was why it was being a bit strange. So, wait, okay. Oh, we've already got a crew report from coming down. I should want to hit collect data, and that would do it. Some of the data for some reason won't collect into the storage container, and I don't know why. So we're going to have to transmit the crew report, which we can do. Oh, it's a separate button for the crew report, isn't it? I always forget that. I always think it's in that that list of things. Review report. There we go. Transmit data. Okay, then I'll take another crew report. Oh, so I'll just transmit that also. Okay, and so we can run a temperature scan. Atmospheric analysis. Okay, so that's fine. Oh, I didn't actually have him reset the. Never mind. Collect all. Right, so there might be something we need to manually grab the data from. I don't know why it's being weird and not just doing it automatically as it always has previously. Right, that's fine. And we have everything. But for some reason some of the science data won't go into the science container, and I don't know why. I think we can actually transmit all three of those for maximum data value anyway. How are we doing for electric charge? Yeah, those are all worth... Oh, okay, no, we've run out of power. That's fine. The, okay, we can't actually transmit that. Yeah, so we ran out of power, but we have the solar panel, so it's all good. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, we don't want to fill the solar panel when we have just run out of power. So let's undo that. Yeah, this thing has a really good range. Even from the surface of Gratton, we're actually in direct contact with Gale, but it also uses up a lot of power. And even with the amount of battery power we had, it clearly wasn't enough. So, okay, this is the part where we're going to save things, because the taking off is going to be a bit tricky. That should be generating... Yes, okay, that is actually generating power. It's just doing it slowly. Why is that immediately gobbling up the power that we generate? What's running right now? Huh, what? Why are we using more power than we're... That's weird. Why is that? Don't understand why that is. Okay, KSP's just, you know, doing things I don't understand today, apparently. I'm trying to retract the antenna and it won't let me. But if I use the hotkey, it will. Okay, that's just being odd. That's being really, really, really odd. I also don't understand what's using power right now. It's just peculiar. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just try taking off. It's being peculiar and I don't understand what it's doing, but once we start firing the engines, that will generate electric current. So we want to take off this way. And we want to get into a higher orbit, so I'm thinking maybe 70 to 80 kilometers. So what we're going to do, I mean, it won't work probably, but we're just going to see what MechJeb does, and it'll probably be the usual rocking around nonsense, because for some reason MechJeb really doesn't I don't know, it gets a bit strange. So 100 and... Let's try. Yeah, MechJeb doesn't like designs with outboard engines. I mean, it really doesn't, and I don't know why. So yeah, this is doing exactly the same thing that it was doing during our testing phase. Did they turn the massage seats on? That must be it. They had the massage seats and the air conditioning on at the same time. Hey, Brett. I mean, this might do it, maybe, but it's going to be horribly inefficient with fuel. But we are taking off in the correct direction, at least. So I need to... This is the point where having some kind of, like, compass alongside the nav ball when you're trying to figure out which direction to take off in would be super useful. Okay, I think if I had to do this manually, I would know roughly which direction to take off in. Well, Sacred Fool, it's not just up, but I have to make sure I'm taking off so I end up in the same direction of orbital travel as the mothership. Because if I take off going this way, and the mothership's going this way, that's a bit of a problem. So now we're just kind of flying along sideways, back towards the ground, so that's not really working, is it? I don't know why MechJeb can't take off from Gratton, but it can't. I don't know if it's just that design. Right, so that was a bit, you know, that was a bit of a non-starter. Right, so... we want to... Wait, where is... Okay, this is the part where it's probably going to take multiple goes because I suck at manual takeoffs. I think this direction? Whoa, whoa, too far, too far. Oh god. No, no, other way, other way. Oh god. I am so bad at trying to use the nav ball to actually take off. That's it. Back towards 180. I think that's 180. Ah, no! Oh, for goodness sake, no! Do what I command you! I command you! This is why I use MechJeb to do takeoffs. This is why. Oh god, this is wasting so much fuel. Right, what direction are we even going on? Are we taking off into like a bloody polar orbit or something? I bet we are. Oh, for goodness sake. No, that's not what I wanted! It's not what I wanted at all! Oh, I can't use the... the nav ball confuses me. I know it shouldn't, but it does. It really does. No! Why are you doing this? Why? Okay. It's fine. It's fine. That was meant to happen. That was meant to happen. Sure. Right, if I set... there we go. So I've set the mothership as our target and... that's the direction I want to be aiming in. The problem is that I start off with these like little gentle movements and then I go slightly in the wrong direction and I start with just increasingly wild overcorrections. This is roughly the direction I think we want to be taking off in. Well, even without MechJeb, it's still... why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? No. See, that was better that time, and then it started wobbling all on its own. It's not responding. Like, literally, I'm trying to, you know, and it just... when it started to wobble like that, that wasn't me. That was it doing it of its own accord. I'm trying to aim roughly at the pink marker on the nav ball so that we are taking off in roughly the right direction, but then it starts to oscillate. Right, that wasted so much delta V. Now at least we're pointing in the right direction and going up again. This is with MechJeb to stabilize it, basically. No, no, don't flip! Why are you flipping? Nah! Stop it! I command you! Behave! I think it's just... oh god. I think it's just this kind of side saddle engine design, but there's no other way to have this without massively increasing the size of the lander, basically. Right, come on. Stay on this marker. Come on. That's the direction we want to be going in. Come on. I want to believe. Right, we're almost out of this fuel on this bottom stage, so we're going to ditch that very soon. Whoa, and then it goes all to hell, apparently. No, come on. This actually should be now more controllable. And apparently it's less. Come on! Come on, you bastard! Oh god, come on! That's it, no! That's it, that's it! Nice and easy, nice and easy. Come on. Come on now. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. Not that, no, 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 no. Not that way. Oh, for goodness sake. Oh, no. Ah, no. Valentina, are you drunk? Have you been drinking on the job again, Valentina? God, this is the worst takeoff I have ever performed that hasn't actually resulted in an outright crash. No, stop flipping, you bastard! Stop it! I thought I'd you know, like with the amount of testing I did, the literally hours I spent refining this design, I thought I'd eliminated these problems, but apparently not. Right, we're still going in the right direction, but the question is like the amount of delta V we've wasted with all this flipping around. Our apoapsis is still below 40 kilometers. Right, we're outside of the worst of the atmosphere though, so it should now be relatively stable. We're still getting a bit of rocking though, that's a bit annoying. Right, apoapsis 57, 60. See, if you just leave it, right, my hands are not on the controls, it does this. 75. Circular eyes, 1300 meters a second. We don't have 1300 meters a second, so that's a bit of a problem. I mean, we're going in the right direction. No, we're not even going in the right direction. We're not even going in the right direction. We're not even going in the right direction. Okay. Okay. Fins might have helped Games Links, but it's, I think it's the outboard, having outboard rockets like that. For some reason in KSP that really fouls it up, and it's probably to do with the nature of the, you know, the somewhat basic implementation of aerodynamics in KSP. It shouldn't have done that. God damn it, I spent so many hours on this thing. So many hours. You people don't even know. Anyway. Right. What if I try a more graduated takeoff? Is there even... Wait, let's... Would that help or... No, that's not even remotely enough TWR. Because if I'd had, you know, centrally mounted engines with... If it was always going to be a two-stage lander, right? Unless I made something that was horrendously big and inefficient. But if I'd had centrally mounted engines, then this would have been a lot taller. It would have been a lot heavier because I'd have needed a bit more fuel in this bottom stage. And I couldn't have made this efficient vehicle with all of the engines to take us off. It would have been more dead weight when taking off. So that would have then meant more weight on the mothership and everything. So, you know, in theory this is an efficient design, and I'm sure it would be fine for an atmosphereless body. It's because there's an atmosphere in particular. But even when it's firing its engines out of an atmosphere, it still seems to oscillate a bit. And I don't know why it does it. It's just something about KSP. It doesn't like these kind of outboard engines. Right, so having set that as a target, for some reason I was trying to aim for that, and for some reason it was sending me the other way, and I didn't want to go the other way. So, I don't... It's really hard to, like, which way's north and which way's south? Can we, like, tell from the direction of the sun? Not really, because it's more or less overhead. Oh, that's no use. I'm trying to figure out which way is east and west, because we want to take off going that way. Which would be east? Yeah, we want to take off going east. I mean, I could just try a lower throttle takeoff to begin with, I suppose. So let's try sort of going for max thrust. We're going for about 2/3 thrust. I'm just kind of hovering at the moment. But this time we'll try... Right, this is kind of like the opposite side of the marker that we were trying to aim for last time. No, why? Oh, no, other way, other way. Why are you doing that? Let's see how it responds. I'm still fighting against the controls though, because it's just tipping. God, I suck at using the nav ball so much. No, no, not that way! Why are you going that way? I don't want you to go that way. Oh, for goodness sake. My eyes are locked firmly on the nav ball at the moment, but it's still not helping me that much. Right, there we go. That direction. I'm not touching the controls at all right now. And it's doing this. Anyway. Yeah, it does kind of look like that, doesn't it, Sleece? Like the fuel is causing it to, you know, sloshing around inside and causing it to do that, but shouldn't be the case. I'll maybe wait a little bit longer before I drop the bottom stage, because dropping the bottom stage was really causing some instability. Maybe if we turn that off and just use regular SAS control. Will that do it? Is it... Ah! Okay, suddenly that seems more stable. Was it MechJeb that was fouling it all up? Maybe? Although it's still... like, the aerodynamics are still weird somehow. Okay, just on regular SAS seems a lot more stable than letting MechJeb do it. So that's an important piece of information. Maybe I figured, yeah, I think you're right actually, Sleaze. I think I had already previously noticed this and then I just forgot because that was like 3 weeks ago or something. Whoop. Nope, a bit too far, come on. No, why did you do that? Why did you do that? It was going so well. And now it's not. Whoa, whoa. Oh god, we're actually losing altitude now. Right, let's try that again, but without mech jeb. I knew this is the part that was going to take ages. I knew it. I just knew it. Right, so no mech jeb. Naughty mech jeb. Mech jeb's trying to make us crash into the ground. Okay, so... let's try this and see if that'll do the trick. I do agree maybe some fins would have helped stabilise it for this though, some fins on the bottom section, and it wouldn't have exactly added a lot of weight, so... Oh, no, why are you twisting that way? No. Just stay stable, goddammit. If I can get in an orbit that's more or less going in the right direction, that's all I want, but it keeps trying to turn the other way. And I wouldn't have thought this was a horribly unaerodynamic design. But yeah, takeoffs like this where I'm having to basically like correct and counter-correct and whatever, that's generally a recipe for disaster. Why are you doing that? Stop twisting! Why are you pointing the wrong way entirely? Come on. Even with the gimbaling we've got on these vector engines, it's still a real struggle to actually keep this pointed where I want it. Trying to keep it close to that prograde marker, but not directly on it. Okay, that's more or less stable for now. No, stop doing that! No explosions today, Master J. No, now we're just spinning wildly. Because of course we are. No, come on, stop being pointed upside down. It's just a constant fight to keep it going where I want it to go. Right, screw it. We're going to tell it to try and stay on the prograde marker and then see if that helps us. Oh, why is that suddenly flipped around? What? It's just not doing what I want it to do. Why won't you work? Why? Oh dear. I mean, you know, no explosions, but damn, there's plenty of things going wrong. Okay, so... I don't even know if I was taking off in the right direction there. I bet, you know, that's what happens. We successfully finally get into orbit, and then it'll turn out we're pointing our craft the wrong way. Right, how... I don't know, I guess we just keep trying until it works. I don't have a lot of choice here, otherwise these guys are stranded down here with no supplies. I mean, in principle, the stability assist should keep it locked in the right place, but it just will not. And I can't set a marker on the nav ball that I want it to, you know, stick in the position of. Come on! No, not that way. Come on. No, no, come on. Why? Why? Why are you doing this? Why? Why? It doesn't matter, Bosun Bones. It doesn't really matter what the angle of the surface we're taking off from is. It's the, like, if I turn on the atmospheric thing, it doesn't even, it's not, as far as I can tell, it's not showing that I've got massive drag surfaces on this craft that are causing problems. I mean, this is the first time I've ever landed and taken off a craft from a planet with an atmosphere in Kerbal Space Program. It's also weird that it changes the point of control when we ditch this bottom section. For some reason it shifts the nav ball around, and I really don't know why it does that either. Right, so this is taking off in more or less the correct direction. Maybe I just needed like 50 million reaction wheels on this thing. I don't know. Right, our apparatus still isn't above 10 kilometers even yet. I know we've got enough delta V. We don't have anything that's causing horrendous drag. You know, we've got a relatively, in theory, aerodynamic craft, but it's still, I don't know. Right, oh, we're too close to the horizon there. I wonder, I mean, I wonder if it's not even like these parts that are clipped in and then it's like KSP's stupid aerodynamic model that's causing problems. Because it could be that, you know, it could be something as stupid as that. It could be these fuel tanks being clipped in edgeways and KSP going, oh, those are causing horrendous drag even though they're actually clipped inside the craft. They're not exposed to the airstream. Because the aerodynamic model in KSP is kind of that stupid. It might well be that. Anyway, we're actually noticeably going back down again now, so that's a bit of a problem. So, yeah, this takeoff isn't it either. Oh, maybe I should just try and do a really horrendously, like, you know, one of those takeoffs where you just try and go straight up. Except those are, like, I don't think we've got enough delta V for that, to be quite honest. But that might be the only way. Like, even if we get into a really wonky orbit, as long as we get into an orbit, we could always have the mothership come and rendezvous with this thing rather than the other way around. So, let's try that. Let's try just going straight up. But I mean, it might well be that. It might be these tanks here, and it might be the stupid aerodynamic model of KSP causing it conniptions. It's not the weights distribution, cryptic gamers. I don't think. No, no, it shouldn't be. I mean, it really shouldn't. That definitely should not be the issue at all. I'm convinced. I'm convinced now I've had the thought. I'm convinced it's these tanks. I think that must be it. Right, so just going straight up is, you know, fine. But that's then going to be a massive pain in the arse. Right, let's make sure we're tilting in about the right direction. If we can sort of go more or less straight up out of the thicker part of the atmosphere, which is going to be a very inefficient launch profile. Yeah, this is the correct direction. Okay. I think it's when we were trying to heel over more in the lower part of the atmosphere, and then that was causing all kinds of drag problems for these tanks. No, it's flipping even before we drop the bottom part, Cryptic Gamer. Right, so perhaps 12 kilometers of climbing. Right, this is much more stable. Whoa, careful. Not too much. Gentle touches, gentle touches. Kilometers. I'm also being very conservative with the throttle this time round. We're only at about 2/3 power right now. Right, this is the correct direction. It's not going to be quite the correct inclination, but as long as we're going in the correct orbital direction, that's the important thing. Hey, Mawo. Right, this seems to be a much more, like, stable launch profile, even if it's probably much less, whoa, careful, much less fuel efficient potentially. I guess we'll hang on to the bottom tanks until we are much higher up in the atmosphere, 'cause, I mean, that is still causing some issues. I did try it, I mean, Sleece, I did manage it once and actually put myself into a polar orbit, which, you know, it's like, I knew that this thing would get me to an orbit, but obviously a polar orbit was not ideal. It's just, in principle, I knew it worked. Right, so apoapsis is climbing to 29. Let's try pitching over a little bit more. Maybe a little more throttle as well. Right, it's going alright so far. Touch wood. Right, we're over 30 kilometers. We're going to try ditching that lower stage. And now that we're free of the atmosphere's influence, okay, that's fine. That's nice and stable. That will give us a better TWR as well as a benefit. We might actually do it this time! Hooray! It only took, I don't even want to think about how many goes. Hooray! Right, we're outside the atmosphere on our so far suborbital hop. 52, 53, 54. You know what? We'll do that. We'll cut thrust. How much does it say we're going to need? Okay, that's fine. We'll burn a little bit more. We'll get a little bit higher on the apoapsis. Because we still have to rendezvous with the mothership, of course. Or have I think we'll probably have the mothership rendezvous with this. I'm not sure we're going to have enough Delta V in this thing. But we can at least use this to match planes. Oh, no, no, I don't. Why? Stupid sticky keys message. God damn it, Windows. Now's not the time. Right, 70. And bingo. So we're going to have enough left to change our inclination. Whoa! We made it! Hooray! Hooray! We actually made it. We're going in the correct direction and nobody died and it's all going to be fine and it's all going to be okay. Okay, okay, it's fine. All according to plan. It maybe took a few goes. And now we're back to rocking around the place because MechJeb really doesn't like outboard engines. I think it's MechJeb. I was putting the blame on KSP, but I think it is actually MechJeb that's the culprit. MechJeb! MechJeb Plus! No, what's it doing? Well, let's just burn prograde and see if that does the trick. Right, we're getting there, but MechJeb really doesn't like this design. Okay, right, we've got a completely wonky elliptical orbit. We've got 500 meters delta second. Oh, I know what I mean. 500 meters a second delta V. Anyway, and that gets us to where we need to go. Right, let's retract the antenna. I wonder if it's the antenna that's somehow just using electricity by being out. No? I don't know. Well, let's roll it so we're actually getting some power from the panels. So, that could have been smoother. MechJeb super does not like this design, but anyway. Right, so match planes with target. 100 meters a second delta V for that. I think we'll manually burn this one. Because MechJeb's being a bit of an ass when it comes to this design. So we need to basically warp forwards a bit. And hopefully that's enough power to take us through. Well, we're going to fire the engines in a moment anyway, so that's fine. Oh, right. Get us on the target node. Oh, actually, when it says target, we've still got that. Oh, maneuver node, not target. There we go. It's fine. Right, so this is just going to be a pretty short burst. Oh, yeah, we should probably quick save. We will do. So anyway, that was not an optimal takeoff by any means, but we got there in the end. With enough delta V to spare. So it seemed to be MechJeb that was really, really causing the issue there. But we got there in the end. There we go. Oh. No. Ah! No! God damn it! I temporarily forgot which control was which. Oops. And now I might have mucked things up. So now we need to correct back the other way because I accidentally burned too much delta V because I forgot which button was which. Yay! I'm good at Kerbal Space Program, you guys. Actually, let's just actually, I don't think we have the delta V to waste. Okay, so maneuver node. We're locked on the maneuver node, and this time let's try and not get our keys mixed up. Like I did last time. Right. That should be it, I hope. Yes, there we go. I haven't completely fumbled the keyboard this time. Right, so if I told it to circularize at the apoapsis, that we could do, and then that leaves us in a position to we can use, I mean, we can still use MechJeb to set up the maneuver nodes, but I'm going to have to execute them manually. Actually, what would it do if I said, if I set as target and I say transfer? I should also check what we're doing, how we're doing for life support. We've still got 2 solid days of life support left. Okay, so if we quick save once again. There's going to be lots of quick saving because this is normally I just let MechJeb handle all of this. Also, actually, how are we doing for... Let's make sure we're aimed at the target. There we go. Because, you know, I'm a scrub. I'm not going to pretend I'm good at this game. If you've actually watched me play this game, you would never think I'm actually good at this game. Just dangerous enough to send a bunch of Kerbals to their deaths. So we're basically doing a complete rotation of the planet, it looks like. Well, Sir Val, I was planning to do a weekend stream anyway, and this was the best time for it, so yeah. But obviously, I also did it just to be awkward for you. I'm quite good at that with my viewers. I make sure to stream at the most awkward times for them. It's a special knack that I have. So we can't really accelerate faster than this, unfortunately, because we're so close to the planet. We're supposed to be going to Waitrose. God, that's so middle class, Menthel. That's so middle class. Are you listening to the Archer's Omnibus at the same time as you're listening to me? Oh, the Archers. The Archers is great. People have been making jokes about the Archers for literally decades. It's great. You listen to comedy programs from the 1960s and they're taking the piss out of the Archers. Hell, you listen to programs from the 50s and they're taking the piss out of the Archers. Comedy gold for years and years and years. No, Mawa, that's the 8th. That's next Thursday. Unless Theresa May suddenly decides that she's going to cancel the election because terrorism, you guys, terrorism. I don't, like, who even knows? Who even knows what goes on in her head, to be quite honest? I don't begin to... Anyway. I hope this works. If not, we'll go back to the quick save and do it from a circularized orbit. I'm just trying this out from this orbit to see if it does what I want it to do. Now you're well hip and listen to Radio 6. Yeah, BBC 6 music's pretty good from what I understand. I think these days the hipster thing would be to listen to the Archers, actually. They don't usually have elections on a weekend, Malwo. We had council elections last month that I think they were on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Just slowly revolving around the planet. I don't know how many more orbits we need to do, but it's a couple. Oh God, Gardener's question time. No, plus, not the traumatic flashbacks. No, Brett, plus. My parents listen to that quite a lot. Yes. Yes. They keep trying to, like, this is the thing my parents keep joking that someday it won't be video games that will be my thing, it'll be gardening. And then I usually joke back that, you know, well, maybe video games about gardening. Of course, you know, by the time I'm like, give it 2 decades time, it'll all be VR gardening games, won't it? Oh, the shipping forecast, yes. Actually, I tell you... Well, actually, no, I can't play it, can I? I was going to put Sailing By on, but that would be a good bit of music for right now. But no, YouTube would probably hit me with a copyright claim for that, wouldn't they? Anyway, you know the bit of music. Do, 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 do. That one. I could probably hum most of it, but I won't, because that would just be awful. Right, this should be the final approach to our maneuver node. Gardening Simulator 2020 VR edition. That's the one, Tonwalls. Right, we're coming up to our burn point. It's going to be a very short blip on the engines. So there's we're only 16 kilometers from the mothership, because the height of this orbit and the height of the other orbit are not far off. But I don't know if this is actually going to put us close enough. It might just put us in a very, very close orbit that's 16 kilometers away. Which is not quite close enough. That's a long spacewalk. You now have someone to do your gardening. God, I wish I could... That's actually, like... I actually have a garden where I live, but mostly it's like once or twice a year. I mow during the summer, because otherwise it gets completely unkempt. But once or twice a year I'll go out and I'll furiously snip away at things with a pair of secateurs. And that's the extent of my, you know, gardening. If I could pay somebody to come and keep it tidy, and, you know, if I could afford to pay somebody to keep it tidy, looking a bit nicer, I probably would. But, yes. Sadly, the YouTube millions don't quite cover that. No, that's just... how... Okay, this is... I mean, this has put us really close. I think... this might... I mean, we'll stick with this. We'll give it a go. Oh, dear. Yeah, that's right, Asriel. Once or twice a year I go outside. That's... I mean, come on. It's Scottish weather. Can you blame me? Also, yeah, Mawo, the Star Trek VR game. I mean, they've got the 1701 bridge, but I mean, it's all the J.J. Abrams bollocks. So, otherwise, so if you had the 1701D, and you know the Defiant, if you could walk around Ops in Deep Space Nine or stomp around the bridge of USS Voyager, that would be pretty damn good. Maybe stuff like that will come later on. And the fact that they have the original Enterprise bridge is pretty fantastic. But apparently that's like the hard mode of that game, because none of the buttons are labelled, and so it's just like, well, try and figure out what to do. With all these millions of buttons where they have no labels. Just keep free-range guinea pigs. I'm not sure what the neighbours would say about that, Brett. I'm sure the neighbours' cats would be a big fan of me having guinea pigs roaming around outside. Be something for them to play with. Right, I mean, we are closing the distance to the point where we could genuinely just spacewalk across. It'd be a long spacewalk, but we're well within the physics boundaries of each other. I mean, it's getting to the kind of weather outside these days, on the topic. Since, I don't know, we had some nice days last month, but it's getting now to more consistently good weather. Although having said that, it did still rain yesterday. But, yeah, I'm at the stage of the year where I'm now quite frequently just going outside to have a cup of tea on the back step and reading for a bit, which is quite pleasant. Right, ban Mawo, ban Mawo, ban him for life. He's not allowed here anymore. Wait, why? What? Why? What? Oh, we're not pointed at... Oh, you twit. We're not pointed at the maneuver node. You have to be pointed at the maneuver node. I'm so used to MechJeb just like automatically doing everything that I forgot that that's not quite how it works. Right, we're getting to quite a close approach. We might just, like... I was going to dock this thing. I was genuinely going to try and dock this thing. We might just spacewalk across. That's definitely an option. We might have enough monoprop. How much have we got? We've got, like, 13.5. We're basically at the moment trying to get our velocity relative to that, but we're just flying right past it at the moment. Nah, so we're just flying away. No, okay. So what we're going to do, I mean, this kind of worked, but kind of didn't. We're actually... we're going to transfer from a circular orbit and hopefully it will all work out. Hopefully. Right, so. Circularize at the next app website, which is fine. So, while it's floating serenely by, I'm actually just going to quickly dash to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. Right, yeah, if you're wondering about that brief burst on the engines, I keep forgetting that I've got my mute microphone key bound to, was it shift something? And of course you hit the shift button and the engines fire, so it's not super ideal, but finding a key combination that's ideal for basically every game, it's actually quite difficult. Anyway. So yeah, basically we're going to expend a little bit of delta V to circularize, and then that will make the transfer a bit less confusing for MechJeb to figure out. Which is, I think, what the issue was previously. There are some very good episodes of Star Trek, the original series, but especially the later, some of the season 2 episodes and then some of the season 3 episodes especially have aged not well. But there are some very good very good stories in there. I mean, it does come across as being very 60s, and I think maybe Doctor Who is a little more timeless in some ways. But then you like some of the lost episodes of Doctor Who are ones that maybe it's better that they do stay lost because they're not very good. Right, so right, we're in a proper phasing orbit now. So it can properly calculate when to burn for an actual intercept, basically. Oh, well, if you're watching it with terrible lip syncing in German, or not lip syncing, you know what I mean, terrible dubbing in German, why is it German television does that? Why do Germans hate reading captions so much? I mean, it can't be all Germans. There's plenty of Germans unfortunately enjoy reading the captions on my videos, sadly. Yeah, why is it with German television they just dub everything? Yeah, it's interesting you say that about TNG. I've just about finished watching it. I've just got All Good Things left, and then I'll have finished TNG and I'll be ready to start on Deep Space Nine. And again, some of the early series, like this is kind of a preview of what I'll be saying for my second channel video, but some of the early series were incredibly, you know, they were incredibly dicey, but a lot of the stuff that made TNG really good later on was also present in those earlier series, those earlier seasons. So it's hard to be too critical of TNG because it had a lot of good stuff earlier on alongside the maybe slightly more cringy stuff. But once it got to, I think it's kind of like season 5 onwards, it was pretty damn rock solid. There was the occasional not that great episode, but it mostly was a very, very consistent, good quality stuff. Right, I mean, we don't, because the orbit is relatively, the atmosphere is relatively close, and so we can have relatively close orbits. And also, I think Gratton is it slightly smaller than... It might actually be about the same size as Gale, or it might be a little bit smaller. I think it's a little bit smaller. No, it will be a bit smaller, yeah. But that means our orbital maneuvers don't take a lot of delta V. TNG was a little bit strange in that even though it in principle is this kind of ensemble cast, more so than the original series, most of the episodes, they only have 2 or 3 characters in them, kind of tops, in terms of like stuff that's happening and the plot. It very rarely feels like, well, this is the whole crew doing things. It was much more of a tight focus most of the time, which, I mean, it kind of worked. But it also meant that some characters were notably underused. And occasionally you'd get stories of, well, this, you know, well, here's going to be a Dr. Crusher story this week, or here's going to be a Geordie LaForge story this week, and too far. It kind of felt a bit forced occasionally. Like people were being shoehorned into weird situations for the sake of this is going to be the LaForge episode and this is going to be the Troy episode. Right, I might have slightly mucked that up, but we can fine-tune closest approach. There we go. We can get another node going. Just slightly adjust that. Hey, German somebody. So the perils of doing it manually is that I'm terrible. This is why I use SpecChef, because I'm just terrible. Right, a little bit more fast forward than that. I wonder if there's any... I might be missing out on all kinds of orbital science, but I honestly don't think I am. Probably some EVA orbital reports as we go over the different biomes, but we're going to bring back so much science, it's going to be ridiculous. No, why didn't it? I don't know. That took a little bit too long to respond on the controls there, but never mind. Do another really tiny correction burn of less than 1 meter a second. There we go. Right, that should. Right, okay, that's fine. At this point, we're going to want to match velocities. Yeah, there we go. I don't remember how to do this. We're also going to attempt a manual docking because I do have, or do I? No, actually, I don't have the auto docking pilot for MechJeb yet. But even if I did, MechJeb is very wasteful when it comes to using monoprop, and I really don't have a lot of monoprop. I kind of deliberately thought to myself, I'm going to do this manually. We're going to take about as much monoprop as I can get away with. So, we're going to be rendezvousing about the dark side, which is going to be annoying in terms of actually trying to then dock in the darkness, which sounds a bit rude when I put it like that. But if our velocities are stable enough relative to each other, we can just wait till we go around to the day side, basically. So there we go. We've come out of our maneuverings. We're going to be a couple of 100 meters away at most. So yeah, basically we're just going to make sure our velocities match. And oh, there we are. Right, that should... There's about... Okay, there's a little bit of drift between us, but I mean... I can barely see that, so that's going to make life interesting trying to dock that. I could probably spacewalk just fine in the dark. Okay, we'll drop a quick save. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to send Bob Kerman over with all the science. Can we... How's this? Pointed. I can't even... Like, there's actually so much glare on the screen. Right, I'm literally going to close my curtains because I can't see. Yeah, there's just a bit too much glare because it's actually really sunny outside today. Right, so that's... Okay, that's orienting itself. That's fine. So, okay, I can actually see a bit better now. The contrast isn't great, but so that's below us. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Bob Kerman. Oh, can't quick save while Kerbals are on it. Okay. Get back inside and then quick save. Oh, I can actually... It did, well, it didn't help you lot, Menthel. It didn't help you lot that I closed my curtains, but it helped me a lot. So we want to take data. And then we want to actually... Oh. Take data. So basically, if he gets lost at this point, you know, that's the entire mission done. But yeah, we're gonna hedge our bets. We're gonna send him over with all the science, and then Valentina's going to try a docking maneuver once we actually get round to the day side. So don't drop it, Bob. Don't you dare drop it. Just don't. That would be very bad. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking when I do EVAs, but it'll be fine. I'm sure it will probably be fine. Ew. I mean, that's probably true, Sleece, but still, ew. Well, I know Tom Walls. I know it's not like it would immediately go flying off, but you know, you'd have to go chasing after it, and it's not like he can actually drop the science data. Right, so I think we'll enter the thing through the lander, not the lander can, but the crew hatch over here. Okay, Menthol. Knickers! Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Oh, this, you know, doing stuff like this is why I love Kerbal Space Program. This is brilliant. In fact, let's try and position ourselves out the window. Do a little screenshot. So if I hover myself just right, because we've still got Bill sitting in the co-pilot's seat in his engineer capacity. So if I do it just right, if I can bring his relative velocity down. She's actually a little bit tricky. Oh. Where are you going, Bob? Bob, stay put. Okay, that should be relatively stable. I just want to look out the window and see... Yep, there he is! See Bob. Floating slowly away. Come back, Bob! Come back! Don't run away with the science. Anyway, I just love that you can do that in KSP. You can have somebody float outside the window, and then you can look outside that window and see them floating. I don't know why that forward light is off, but it shouldn't be. Oh yeah, this is... I put the finished flag on it because... I mean, I've been naming out all my craft in this playthrough after viewers, so... this one happens to be... Oh, why can't we... That's a bit odd. It's saying I've got 3 experiments that cannot be stored. Can we store them inside here? In the mobile lab? Okay. That's a bit odd. Unless I've got some duplicate experiments, it wouldn't want to store them in the same place. Right, there we go. I couldn't... Right, that's with all the lights on. I couldn't figure out why all the lights weren't coming on. And obviously, you know, obviously it's got a searchlight powerful enough to light up the planet's surface. Obviously. Yes. I've got so many, I've got like 30 plus experiments and it's hard to tell if... there must be duplicates. Right, so... that's about 140 meters. What we want to do... set that... okay, set the port as the target. There is a way, somebody actually pointed this out to me, there's a way of... ah, that's actually pulling ahead of us, so what we want to do is slightly... whoa! Too much, too much! What we want to do is hit quick load. I wanted to very slightly blip my engines and it didn't quite work. Right, are we still locked onto the docking port as our target? No, now we are. Right, so yeah, there's one of these ones and it's like target plus, target minus. It'll basically orient your craft so it's sort of oriented the opposite way, which actually makes doing docking maneuvers super easy. Well, not super easy, but it means you're always pointing in the right direction, so it's less stuff I have to worry about. You know what? We're going to try it. I think it's actually, now I've closed the curtains, I think I can see enough. I'll get some of these windows out of the way, though, just to reduce the clutter slightly. Also going to want to keep a sharp eye on our actual monoprop levels, but theoretically this is enough. So I'm basically drifting forwards to the nose at the moment, and then we're going to translate down and then forwards again. This should be enough monoprop for this maneuver. We're not covering a lot of distance here. Not that it's distance that matters, it's the, you know, it's the delta V that matters. Because that's how physics works. Or at least, you know, in Newtonian physics, when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, that's how that works. Let's start killing velocity. Is that thing rotating? So it shouldn't be. It should be just holding position. Anyway, so, right, we need docking mode on. Kill our relative velocities a little more. We're actually closing the distance down to it anyway. I don't need to... The one thing that stock KSP doesn't do, which is kind of actually we need there we go, a docking indicator. The Navy fish docking indicator. There we are. I knew I had something useful somewhere. Yeah, when you're trying to dock with stock KSP, it doesn't differentiate between your horizontal and vertical velocities. So my vertical velocity is at the moment relative to this much higher than my my horizontal velocity, but it just tells me target 0.7 meters a second. It just tells you how quickly you're moving towards it, not what your velocity is in the different planes of travel. No, it's just a question of okay, it's the S key in this case. I also need to translate a little that way. Hopefully we can... There we go. It's about ½ meter a second between us at the moment. This has all been so far with like less than 3 meters a second of monoprop, and if I was using mech jeb, it'd be a hell of a lot more than that. Oh. And bingo! There we go. Yeah, having something like this when you're trying to dock is super useful. So we can get rid of that. Yeah, Navy Fish's docking indicator. Even if you're playing stock KSP, it's a super useful mod. There we go. First time. Like a pro. So, we can... where are we? What we can do, in fact, we'll transfer out the life support stuff. We'll transfer out the remaining liquid fuel, and then we'll just dump this thing. We'll use the monoprop to like push it out, maybe even deorbit it. I'm not sure if there is enough monoprop in it to deorbit it, to be honest, actually. I could just use the fuel that it's got in it to deorbit it. But why waste the liquid fuel? We're on a low enough orbit that I think there's enough delta V with just the monoprop once we've stripped out all the fuel. Right, transfer crew. So Valentina's going to get back in the command pod after much clicking. So there we are, and now we can just bring up attack, life support, fuel balancer. And we will... I actually put some RCS in this thing as well. Like, this is carrying 50 monoprop, just because I thought we might need to do some docking with that thing. But also we're going to use this monoprop for docking with the space station when we get back home. So we don't actually need to just dump that. That would be a waste. Right, so liquid fuel. What we can do... Which is the big... I don't know which tank is which, because I merged two big tanks inside the craft, and I don't know which one's... It'd be nice if it's... I mean, I know this is a mod, but it'd be nice if when you run your thing down the list, it actually highlights where it is in the craft. Because at the moment, it's actually merged inside, so there's no way for me to click on it directly. Right, if we... what am I doing? Right, we just hit transfer out on each of these parts. Right, I think it was just the, yeah, KW rocketry, SA1s and the SB2. So we've stripped that out, and that's okay. Well, in fact, we can lock those and then just tell TAC to balance the rest. There we go. So that's fine. So I think we can get rid of that. What we can also do is we can take all the life support supplies, not that it's a lot, out of there. And in principle, we can now ditch this thing and just have it kind of burn retrograde. How do we? Oh, I forgot to put the solar, not the solar panel, the communication dish out. So of course I have no control because I have no relay thing on the Latika Mafia. It's fine. I meant to do that. Extend antenna. There we go. So the idea is just to see if we can oh, right, is that the right? There we go. Of course, I don't know if this is going to be enough to actually deorbit it. Orbital info. Okay, it's now on a suborbital trajectory. We've got enough push with the enough push with that to put it on a suborbital trajectory, so that's fine. So in principle that will eventually like catch and go down into the atmosphere and etc. So that's not just going to be space junk. But it might, like with the way KSP works, it might take a while to do it. So, right. So what we wanted to do was to see if we could maybe visit the moon first of Gratton. We'll drop a save file here. And I mean, we'll see how much delta V it would require. Actually a fair bit. And we can only do having ditched the pod, of course, we can only then do a very limited amount of science collection around Geminus. But also, I mean, if we just do a flyby, if we don't actually orbit Geminus, that then swings us out into a wider orbit. And at that point we can maybe... I don't know. Let's try this. We've dropped a save file, so we might as well give it a go. Let's also... Yeah, okay. So, that's fine. Yeah, we can actually now use MechJeb for things as well, which is quite nice. So here we are. Everybody's back on board. We've got all of the science safely collected. We are going to come back with so much science. And we've got 800 science from the mobile lab, and we can't even process more science. We've got like 32 science experiments. I mean, this is a lot of science, is what I'm saying. We're going to come back with a lot of science. Interestingly, now that we've ditched the capsule and that we've burned most of our fuel, I mean, we still have, what, 2,800 meters a second. We still have a pretty good reserve of Delta V. We've also got our thrust to weight up to nearly 1.0 with our 3 nuclear engines, so that's how much fuel mass we've burned off. So we're going to start burning very, very soon. We're just high enough that the high-res planet textures haven't kicked in, which is looks a bit, but what can you do? So I mean, technically, what we'll be doing here is using the moon as you know, to get a gravity assist, and we can also do a flyby and get some crew reports as we do a flyby above Geminus. I could maybe even adjust the thing slightly so we have a slightly lower periapsis. And yeah, we'll see how that works out. I think, yeah, technically this would be a gravity assist because it gets us further out than we were before. Even with the TWR approaching 1, though, this is still an awfully long burn because, you know, nuclear engines. So, despite the difficulty we had in actually getting off the surface, I think this has been quite a successful mission, to be honest. This has been one of my more successful missions, and probably my most complicated mission that I've ever done. So I'm quite pleased with this. I mean, I know we're not home yet. We've got a long way to go. Literally a long way to go. Many millions of miles, but I'm quite pleased thus far. I think it's worked out really quite nicely. That's true, Mawo. We might yet have to resort to F5 and F9 a lot more. I mean, this is more just I want to see what Geminus is like a bit closer up. We don't actually need to go to Geminus. Oh, also, it's reset all the screens from last time, but it does do that. Let's turn some of the cabin lights on. Was there another screen somewhere on this side? I can't remember. I don't think so. Right, so... Well, that actually, we could even do a flyby that gives us an escape velocity. But I don't think we actually want to do that just yet. Why? Okay, why are you being weird? I'm just trying to figure out how much closer I can get before it actually then flings me out to an escape from the system, which we don't. Whoa, which we don't want. That puts us on a very elliptical orbit. Should we try it? Let's try it. This might all be like not a good idea. I don't know. I don't tend to do a lot of like gravity assists. It's by far the most efficient way to do, you know, planetary transfers is to get gravity assists around other bodies. It's why quite often when NASA, for instance, wants to send probes to the outer solar system, they actually start off by going inwards towards Venus to actually get a gravity assist that then boosts them outwards. And you sometimes get this kind of long-ish chain of gravity assists around various planets to actually then massively cut down the amount of delta V that you need to start off with. I mean, basically we're coming in and it's yeah, it's sort of it does look a bit weird, doesn't it? It's almost like a loop, kind of looping around the moon, and then we'll be going back in towards Gratton, and then that puts us into a really high orbit. A 92, that's a number. A 92-day orbit. 92. What? Shut up, brain. Right. So now's a good time to check our life support status. 2 years, 262 days. So I think we've got the space high over Gratton data. And it really is only EVA reports that we can get, basically. We had all of our science equipment on the lander itself. We did not duplicate that. See you, Menthel. $92. Yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, well done, Brain. So we can get both a crew report and an EVA report here. The crew report, in fact, I can probably just... Where are we? Review report. Should be able to just transmit that right away. If we had a bit more daylight, that might look quite nice, but anyway, so... Let's Gratton off in the distance. Oh, our closest approach is not so much a closest approach as it is we're going to smack into the actual planet itself. So we should probably make a slight adjustment to our course. I'm not sure the crew would appreciate coming all this way only to just, like, die. I don't think they'd enjoy that. Well, this is going to be a very close approach. Okay. Bearing in mind that I can hit F9 and we'll go back to orbit in orbit around Gratton at any point. Oh god, that's going to... Okay, I might need to. That's going to waste a significant chunk of Delta V. In fact, let's hit F9. I've completely mucked that up. Oh, also, yeah. I've just spotted chat. Hello, yes. Yes, I should have... Okay, apparently I should have tried a different... I should have tried a different burn there, but I didn't. I'm so good at this game. Have I mentioned how good I am at this game? I'm the best. I'm excellent. It's hard to say how excellent I am. It's hard for mere words to encapsulate how good I am at this game. Right, we can probably do that with a single burn. Oh, too far. Literally just trying single clicks of the mouse wheel at the moment. It does have this weird kind of acceleration thing going on with the when you use the mouse wheel to adjust the nodes. It's like one click does a little bit and then you do several clicks and it's suddenly like 50 bazillion times further than you wanted it to be. Right, 25 kilometers. Let's try that. Anyway. Yeah, I guess I should pay more attention to the chat. I mean, not like you ever say anything interesting or useful, but you know. How else am I going to know when to mock you? Or something. I don't know. Yeah, anybody that ever thought I was any good at Kerbal Space Program, all they have to do is watch me actually play Kerbal Space Program. And it would pretty soon dispel that illusion. Oh, why is it... oh, I see. Okay, apparently I can get an EVA report. Or I could get an EVA report. Have I got that one already? Apparently not. Let's send that. I think there's only a couple of biomes. Oh, Cinnamon Heights. Okay, apparently that's the other biome that we can get an EVA report from around the... Cinnamon Heights. Yeah, I think there's only a couple of biomes on Gratton. Right, anyway, I shouldn't keep interrupting us any further at this point. Hey, Ginge! Oh, Inverse Gratath. Some of the bio names are really odd. We're about to burn anyway. I've missed at least one EVA report I could have gotten, but we're going to get so much science. It's ridiculous how much science we're going to get. There has been heavy use, Ginge, heavy use of the F5 and F9 keys during the course of this stream so far. But nobody's actually died. And most of the use of the F5 and the F9 was because of KSP's extremely wonky aerodynamic model. My thoughts on Take-Two buying Squad? I guess we'll wait and see how it works out. I don't have any kind of immediate reaction, to be honest. I know a lot of people have been joking about them adding, microtransactions. But I mean, Squad was always a PR company that accidentally blundered into being a software developer. So having an actual publisher might not be a bad thing. But we'll see. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, Ginge, but it genuinely was I had some fuel tanks that were clipped in sideways, and the aerodynamics model was treating them as if they were exposed and causing drag, even though visually they weren't. And with something like Ferrum Aerospace installed, it wouldn't have been a problem. But Ferrum Aerospace, was that ever updated for 1.2.2? I don't know. It might have been updated for 1.2.2 literally just before 1.3 came out. But there's a mod. Like that's a really good mod. But there's a mod I haven't actually used in ages. And I was kind of hoping to get it working for 1.2.2. And then at the time when I was adding all of the mods, it just wasn't updated. It hadn't been updated in a while. But it is a very... I think it's one of the more complex mods out there. Wow, that burned. Visually, you're a decent World of Tanks player. Wow. I earned that 60% win rate, goddammit. I wasn't just leashing off Zircon. Anyway, it's all me. I'm a unicum. Totally a unicum. I'm the best World of Tanks player there is. Anyone that says different is just jealous. So jealous. Who wouldn't be jealous of my skills? I've got the best skills. Skills like you wouldn't believe. Oh, actually, we can quickly grab that. There we go. That last equatorial biome. So, let's try this again, and then we're going to want to figure out how to, get the hell back home, and at which point we will wrap up the stream. I'm not even, I haven't even thought that far ahead, Malwo, to be quite honest. This is why I'm terrible at chess. I mean, I'm terrible at most things. But, I could never think more than a couple of moves ahead. Well, most of the time I could never think more than one move ahead, and I'd just be constantly, oh, look, I've been checkmated. How did that happen? So yeah, in principle, we should get pretty close. Well, we're not actually... we're going to come out. Well, we're not technically leaving the system yet. I don't know. I can always, like, if this turns out to be a horrendously bad idea. Did I want to come out retrograde? I mean, where even are we compared to Gale at the moment? There's Gale. I mean, that looks okay for a return, maybe? I don't actually... We might have to do like a gravity assisting around Talumo or whatever. I mean, I've still got like 2 years worth of life support, so we have some wiggle room here. Anyway, let's have Bob do an EVA. Right, anyway, so, oh yeah, we do want the map view, but we want to go all the way in, and then... Yeah, this time we're not actually going to smack into the surface, which is probably a good thing. So, even... Well, I mean, with this maneuver, we're actually putting ourselves quite far away from Gratton. So, I mean, we've spent most of the Delta V that we would need to get free of the system, and in fact we've gotten a gravity assist from the moon, which has actually saved us some Delta V if it all works out. Because if you just burn straight from orbit without getting that gravity assist, it will ultimately of course cost you more. So anyway, you know, that's the theory. So here we are in space above Geminus, which God, that's a rather scarred looking body, isn't it? That's had some fun times at some point in the past. Well, almost looks like it's had some other like moon smack into it with that level of ridging going on. If that makes any sense. Right, in space near Geminus's Midlands. We might even pass over several biomes worth of EVA reports here, so that'll be nice. Just keep an eye on the science here and now monitor. I don't know why the shadows are doing that. That does look slightly odd. The stripy shadows. In fact, let's flip the craft over and see if we can't get a better screenshot. Oh, okay. I might have flipped it a bit farther. Must have just caught the edge of a biome when it was... Oh, that's actually not quite what I wanted, but never mind. Oh, Geminus's lowlands. That EVA report. We should, I think, get close enough to... So Geminus seems to have a couple of biomes as well. So, I mean, if you came out here with a multi-use lander, you could clearly get some serious science. I mean, if I'd been thinking about it, honestly, I could have probably put some satellites in with this. And we could have had some mapping going on. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I could have... Next time we do an interplanetary expedition, which might be a while. Oh, there we go. There's the high-res textures have kicked in. God, that is quite the ridge. Look at that. Yeah, we could maybe bring some satellites along with us to do some mapping and some... set up some relay comlinks. Obviously, this being an airless body and a relatively small airless body, it would probably not be that difficult to, yeah. as ever with GPP, I'm not sure if this is inspired by a real moon or not. But I mean, there are. What's the one I'm thinking of? There's one moon that does have these great big scar features, and I can't even remember which one it is now. I mean, some of the icy moons have got quite pronounced surface ridges from what looks like interior activity causing bits to melt and, you know, smoosh together and you know, cause the ridges. So kind of pseudo-tectonic activity, not actually tectonic because it's ice, but there's probably a word for it. But yeah. Well, this was cool as a little flyby, even if we have to then hit the save or do the quick save later on. We'll always have these screenshots. Europa? Maybe I'm thinking, maybe Europa? I'm not sure. I'd have to go and look through pictures of various... I'm sure it was one of the moons of the gas giants. Look at that. Isn't that cool? That's so damn cool. I love that. I think the interior view is slightly broken. I don't think you're supposed to be able to see through those parts there. Yeah, unless that's just holes that the cockpit has inadvertently developed during our time in space. Although I don't think that's true. But yeah, KSP, man, it's such a fun game sometimes. Right, anyway, so now, I mean, we've got a couple more EVA reports. We'll zoom back out so that we are within orbit of Gratton proper. And at that point, we shall investigate going home. Oh, apparently we just warped past a potential biome, but never mind. We just must have caught the edge of it. Man, if we could process the data from all the science we have on board, we could get stupid amounts of science. But, I mean, I still have half an idea that we'll dock this thing in orbit around Gale itself. And at that point we'll be able to actually process more of the data before we bring it back down. Because the space station's never actually been used. That's still got full life support as well, pretty much. So if we warp out to the exit of the sphere of influence, as Geminus dwindles behind us. So now we're on a very long, slow orbit around Gratton itself, and now is the point where we figure out how we're going to get back home. So, in principle, at this point, I don't think it would take us that much to actually break free. There might be a lot of aero braking. Well, this is what we had last time, so wait, could we change inclination? 15 meters a second delta V. Let's try that. We'll change the inclination back to 0 and then I think that will help, maybe? I'm not sure. I mean, we last time had this kind of issue where we actually had to like semi-set up the thing and then match the plane, which, I don't know, it was all a bit of a faff, but we got there in the end. I mean, as with the last stream, you know, basically I'm making this up as I go along. So, I mean, life support wise we're fine, but it was telling me what, over a, so it's telling me like 1.6 years to the next thingy window, so we'll see. I mean, it also gave me a little warning about inclinations, which is why I'm changing the inclination now. So principally, or in principle rather, we should be, once we're on the right inclination, it shouldn't have the same problem at all. Also, why is everybody Greek mythology? When did Greek mythology come into it? Well, I mean, you know, there's always Greek mythology, I suppose. Is it because Nikos is here? I could say something there about Nikos being an ancient Greek, but I don't actually know how old Nikos is. Anyway, right. Saying 1300 meters a second for the next possible transfer. It's actually saying more meters a second for the next transfer window. Don't quite know why. Right, so what we'll do before we do anything is we'll save the game here. And I guess we'll try this. So 1300 meters a second is a big chunk of my remaining delta V. So I think this is going to be, when we get back to Gale, a lot of aero braking. Because we have to get back into orbit around Gale. We have to. This can't land. So once again, swinging around, and then it's going to be quite a long burn. I mean, it's going to use most of our remaining fuel. I have no idea what I'm doing. Literally no idea. I'm just completely winging it. Not a clue. And yet, despite that, I've managed to kill remarkably few Kerbals, so I guess that's not nothing. So this is going to be a nearly 3-minute burn on the nuclear engines. So yes, this gives me a moment to catch up with the chat. How's the chat doing? What are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? You're older than Billy. Is the food war situation going to be okay? I think so, Sleece. I think so. We've got about 2 2/3 years of food and a bit more than that oxygen. We've actually have, with the recycling, over 3 years of water. I talked about this in the last episode that I actually could have taken less water to start with, because you can recycle water and carbon dioxide, or wastewater and carbon dioxide, to extend the to stretch out your supplies, but you can't do anything about food unless you have mods that add greenhouses. So if I was launching another one of these, I would make some modifications. I mean, we need a relay on it. We need more food capacity, basically. So in principle, there's enough life support. It's now Delta V that we're wondering if there is enough of. Which I'm really hoping that there is. Because I wasted so much getting here, and maybe doing that flyby was a waste of Delta V. I don't know. Maybe we needed to... maybe I needed to circularize in that wide orbit and then do my try and do my insertion burn, because it did have a warning about like trying to do this from an elliptical orbit. So I don't know. This is all just like completely making it up as I go along and hoping that it works out. Yeah, life support does actually add a really interesting dimension. I mean, for the most part, you're just going to then want to slap on enough life support that it then covers all your eventualities, but it means that you can't do these ultra efficient, decades-long crude missions that you see sometimes people doing on Reddit, where they do all these kind of like thingies around bodies. They use various gravity assists and gravity brakes to be ultra efficient, but it takes, I mean, not even decades. Some of these trips take hundreds of years. I did see one person who it was ridiculous. It was in stock KSP, and they literally, on a single charge of a cruise Delta V, you know, the monoprop, the RCS fuel that you carry to move around space when you're going on EVA. That was a very long-winded way of saying that. They literally got back from like Joule or somewhere. I can't even remember which planet it was, but they went all around the solar system, and it was insane, and it took forever, and it was just like the most impressive thing, but it also it took a stupidly long time to do, which doesn't matter in stock KSP because your Kerbals are immortal unless you crash them into something really fast. But obviously with a life support mod, such a thing would just be completely impossible. I mean, this is easily going to be my longest duration mission. There's no doubt about it. But even then, I can't have these guys hang around forever because there is a limit on how much life support I have. Right, so... principle, we get out of the Gratton sphere of influence, and then Robert's very much your uncle, hopefully, maybe. Right, so Oof, okay. Wait, what did I do there? No? By the way, I mean, if it looks like I have no idea what I'm doing, obviously that's not true at all. That's just the appearance of me not having any idea what I'm doing. So basically we're looking for an intercept with Gale. Only I think maybe we don't have one. Okay, I think I've kind of screwed that up, I think. Not 100% sure. Also, I did F9 when I meant to load for a save, but never mind. I bet this has put me back in the orbit of Gratton, not that it matters, because we've actually got the save file. Load save. That one. Oh, god damn it, Far Berserker, you're here. You made it. I'd specifically, you know, gone out of my way to, but never mind. Right, right, circularize. That's only going to cost me 156. So we'll do that. We'll go in a wide circular orbit. Or actually, do we... Wait. Are we better... Oh, I'm confused myself now. Are we better off... Because the closer you are, the better, isn't it? In terms of... no, yeah, this... I've confused myself. Will it be more efficient to go from having done all the flybys of the moon and gotten that science? Will it actually be more efficient to do this burn from a lower orbit because of the Oberth effect? I can't remember. Honestly. Let's try this. I mean, this is all we have. The save files. We have the save files. We're just kind of experimenting to see which profile works best, basically. So we'll try this. We'll try circularizing in the wide orbit. Oh, and that rather makes it sound like you've missed some mode of transportation. Far Berserker. Which possibly you didn't mean to do? I don't know. Anyway, whoops, I guess. Oh, this actually... So if I'd gone round on another orbit, this actually would have then put me in another encounter, which would have put me on an escape velocity out of the... which, you know, wouldn't necessarily have been a bad thing, because it would have then just put me in a wide orbit around Zero, and we could have made our way back from there. But at that point, of course, the life support becomes an issue, potentially. Anyway, we're trying this. We're seeing how this works. We're trying this. And maybe it'll be fine. Maybe. I hope. Fingers crossed. Oh, wow. You really did sleep in, then, Far Berserker. I'm also... I mean, we're getting on for 3 hours now. I'm also slightly aware of time constraints, because I've got potentially about another hour and a half that I can stream for. I'm really hoping it doesn't take that long to get back. But if we're doing things like multiple aero braking passes, it might be. I might have to break this stream off before we actually get home, because it's already getting on for quite a long stream. And I'm also conscious of the fact that the longer it is, the more it is to get through for people trying to watch the VOD on YouTube. So there's that. Right, so nice circular orbit. We have Gale set as our target. Well, that's saying 1200 meters a second for a return to Gale in a year's time. If I say as soon as possible, it's a little more delta V, but it's a much quicker node. 57 days instead of over a year. Because bear in mind the journey back is going to take about a year. So we'll try this. Well, I've been doing, I mean, I don't know if you noticed. I mean, no, recording the VOD. I'm recording now separately for Berserker. I mean, I won't bore you with the explanation that I bored everyone with the explanation last time I streamed, but I can now do local recordings in OBS to my computer at a different resolution than I stream at, because OBS didn't used to be able to do that. But it now can, which is quite nice. And the even nicer thing is, when you're recording locally with OBS, you can set it up so that you're using your CPU to do the encoding for streaming, and then I can use the motherboard's onboard graphics chip to do the encoding for the local recording, if that makes any sense. Anyway, it took some fiddling to do, but somebody basically pointed me out how to, or showed me how to do it. Gave me the information needed. Anyway, so there's the moon's in the background. This is actually a little less delta V than last time, but we've maybe used roughly about the same with that circularization burn. Yeah, so if I do a local recording while I'm streaming, I can then do a 1080p upload to YouTube. It takes a while, but it's possible. Although the beginning of this one's going to be a bit funny because I forgot the unmute button. So it's going to be about like 30 seconds of just blank silence, and then yeah, I can't even put an on-screen annotation in YouTube anymore. It's really annoying. Thanks, YouTube. You're the best, Google. Anyway. I actually had to, I was such a fuss with the last one. I had to edit and re-render locally because I uploaded it, then discovered YouTube's video editor, which is barely worth the name of being a video editor, but you know, it's good enough for clipping the start and the end of something. I used to just use that for VODs if I wanted to, you know, clip out a little bit at the start, but no, if I want to do any editing at all, I have to do it locally and then re-render. And for a long video, you know, that's basically quite a few hours of rendering time potentially. And then it's all got to be uploaded. Because for some reason the YouTube video editor doesn't work on anything longer than an hour. Which is a bit annoying. Yeah, basically they couldn't find a way to make annotations work on mobile devices, so they came up with the genius idea of these end screen thingies, but that is not useful a lot of the time. It's fine if you want to have like an end screen link to another video or whatever, but if you want to make a correction or if you want to put a link in a specific part of the video, no, YouTube won't let you do that anymore. You can put stuff at the end of the video or GTFO, basically. So that was nice. Everybody thoroughly enjoyed learning that that was going to be a change. Yeah, no, that was it, Nikos. It was because of mobile, use. It was, it's not going to work on this one platform, and clearly they couldn't either be bothered or couldn't figure out how to make it work on the mobile devices. So then they just decided nobody was going to have the ability to add on-screen annotations anymore. So yeah, lots of people were really not happy about that, which is not really a surprise. So we're basically slowing our orbital velocity so we fall inwards and hopefully intercept Gale. That is the theory. Oh, don't expect it to make any sense, Sombra. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. It's not joined up thinking. It's just Google being typically Google and deciding that they know what's best for everybody. It's like when they decided that they were not going to make Google Reader a thing anymore, which was, Google Reader was brilliant. It was actually so good that it basically killed all the competition. And it was great, you log in, you've basically got a page on your Google account that lets you aggregate a bunch of RSS feeds without having to have a separate client on your computer or anything, so you can just do it anywhere. And then Google decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So, I don't know, it's just, Google. What can one say? It's Google. Right, what is my closest approach to Gale? Right, why does it say my closest approach to Gale is there? What? And this is a 2-year orbit, so it's not like I can just go round and round and round and round. Okay, Dumpty dumpty dum, dumpty dumpty dum, dumpty 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 dum. I think this might be figuring out how to get back home on a separate stream at this rate. I might do some fiddling off stream just to figure out the optimal way to do it. And then we just make this a separate stream for getting home from Gratton, because this is taking a lot of trial and error, and I've only got so much time left to stream, and also I've been streaming a while already, and you probably all want to go and watch something more competent. So there's a bug with it. Well, I don't know, it could have been a bug, or it could have been that the closest approach really was like all the way out there. But anyway, so yeah, I think I'll wrap the stream up here then. I really had hoped to get all this done within one stream, but I mean, with the amount of quick saving and loading it took just to get off the surface, and now all the fiddling it's taking to try and figure out how to get back home, yeah, this is taking a little while. Anyway, so hopefully you have enjoyed the stream regardless. It's not been the most stunning display of competence, but I don't think you would expect anything else watching me. And if you have, well, you can of course follow, although I think most of you are followers already, but yeah. And of course you can go and check out the links below the actual stream, and there you can find YouTube and all the rest of it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then all of that is irrelevant anyway. So have a good Sunday wherever you are, and I hope to see you next time.